Hello indie game fans! Even more great looking pixel art games have been announced and revealed since we last took a look, with a fantastic top 5 if I do say so myself, so stick around and bask in the glory of these with me. We begin with the ultra cute Grapple Dog, a platformer title with a grappling hook mechanic. If done right, the grappling hook can be one of the most fun mechanics in games, so I hope that the physics and controls feel good. And with 33 levels spread across 6 colourful worlds, this should please platformer fans. It's cute and light-hearted, but does have boss battles against giant robots as well, looking very sweet and of interest. We don't really get many great linear platformers these days, so an entry in the space is always welcome, so stay tuned and I'll let you know if there's news of release. One of the most impressive pixel art titles that I have seen is Downward, releasing a free version on Steam, which has now retroactively been deemed as the early access version. It's a freeware title that will give you a taste, but the developer has taken to Kickstarter to expand it into a full-length game. If you have not played this, the flight mechanic does feel pretty unique, where factors like airspeed will affect whether you will be able to get to the platform that you want, and does have one of the most interesting 2-bit looks out there. There is combat strangely enough, so plenty of challenge, and as of recording, it's about 60% funded with plenty of time on Kickstarter, so check it out and support this solo developer if you want to. The developer of Frauki's adventure did reach out to me, and I was impressed with the look, and it's a melee action platformer that does look fantastic. Short little trailer that does seem to have bits of repeated moves and animations, so hopefully the full title will have more, and with the release being close, do help to wishlist it for now. If you have any nostalgia for the 8-bit generation of consoles on CRTs in particular, then may I introduce Beholgar, an action platformer title where you play as a barbarian and is simply spot on. There appears to be modern-ish mechanics like magic rings that evolves powers and abilities, but does look old-school difficult as well, but it's an 8-bit excellent title to keep an eye on. If you're at all interested in games like Terraria and Starbound, then I would recommend you to wishlist Outworlder right now. It's a sci-fi sandbox title, but does have colony sim elements with direct NPC control, so you are not alone, but the freeform crafting nature of this game does look to be of interest. You can eventually tech up to building mechs and vehicles used to explore the planet, and may just be the next breakout hit in the genre. Speaking of 8-bit excellence, Otto and the Ancient Worlds is one such title, where you play as an archaeologist who discovers an ancient library full of myths and folktales, whereupon a mysterious evil figure unleashes said mythical monsters into the world, and it is up to our hero to save the day. It's unapologetically retro due to the art style and even the user interface, having a similar feel to something like Shovel Knight, so I do hope this will get to that level as well. For something a little different, Rog Roll is not pure pixel art since there's some pseudo 3D environments and objects, but at its core, it's a 2D platformer which does look awesome. Similar to Grapple Dog above, pure platformers are difficult to come by, so do treasure this, with the main mechanic being a roll which functions as both an attack and air control. Looking fantastic and is another one to watch. The next entry is pretty interesting since while it doesn't look like one, Turbo Kid is actually a Metroidvania title where our protagonist rides on a bike, but that has got me intrigued. Mixing Trials with a 2D action title seems like a pretty out there idea, and strangely enough, is based on a Canadian movie of the same name from 2015, so talk about a deep cut and is a curiosity because of that. Alright, so some of you may have gotten wind of this game already, since Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge is based on one of the most iconic IPs of all time, and looks to be some sort of tribute to Turtles in Time on the SNES. Don't worry too much about this animated trailer, since you'll get to see the pixel art soon enough, which looks absolutely fantastic, and I'm glad that one of my favourite developers, Tribute Games, is making this, the developer of Flint Hook, Mercenary Kings, Wizorb, and most recently, Panzer Paladin, so I do have high hopes for this. I take every opportunity I can to support local developers, where Spring Loaded is one such name, with the in-development Telomere being of interest. Their games and pixel art do have a unique style to them, which does mean quite a cohesive look over all their games. This title is a self-described minimalist journey through life, looking to have an interesting narrative experience about the nature of life itself. Very strangely, the trailer is over 5 minutes long, so stick around if the dialogue is of interest, or skip ahead via the controls below.
a sweet little orc village. Let's make some trees nearby, a few rivers, with a happy little bush over here. Perfect. And some cats. Everybody loves cats. What are you doing? My innocent cats? No! You will answer for it, dumb orcs. Well, let's start again.
Let's kick off number 5 with a fan-requested title, World Box God Simulator, which, as advertised, is a god game where you're creating the world, placing flora and fauna and seeing what happens. It's not just boring humans, but orcs, dragons, monsters, aliens and more, all on an epic scale with pixel art that is on point.
Unleash the chaos!
The emergent stories of such titles are always the draw, where it is always interesting to see what would happen if you place some orcs next to zombies and then throw a giant crab kaiju into the mix, with the scale of the simulation being very impressive here.
Embark on unstoppable fun!
My only concern is the structure of this, if there are specific missions or scenarios, or if it's totally freeform and sandbox, where ideally both modes will be present, but impressive piece of work for sure, and I'm looking forward to the release.
Become the god in Super World Box!
I've covered the Souls-like Metroidvania The Cork before, but it did have an unsuccessful Kickstarter campaign where it appears as though the extreme minimalism of the pixel art of the earlier version was not well received, which has led to the developer to redo the art and is releasing it as Book 1. It's a classic grimdark Metroidvania which looks fantastic either way in my opinion, now with multiple playable characters that will give it its variety. Since it was newly reworked, not too many details are available, but back with a vengeance for sure, and wishing this developer all the best. I chanced upon Loot River as well, which is an action roguelite with real-time puzzle elements and looks absolutely insane. If you thought that action roguelites could not innovate any further, this game is simply an expression of the genius of indie developers, since who would have thought to include a tile-shifting puzzle mechanic into this genre? On top of that, there's a whole RPG and equipment system, stylish combat and a terrifying grimdark world and environment, so yes, very interested in this myself. I'm very impressed with Korean publisher NeoWiz since they have picked up hit after hit after hit, with titles like Skull the Hero Slayer, Dandy Ace and Metal Unit under their belt, and they're only just beginning, recently announcing a stylish action platformer Sanabi the Revenant as well. In a symmetry to the first game on this list, this too has a grappling hook mechanic and looks to be great to be able to swing through the air, but swaps the cutesy, cartoony vibe with something much darker. Set in a dystopia, play as a retired veteran warrior with a prosthetic arm who is reluctantly called back into service, having to hunt down a mysterious entity known as Sanabi as you take down the corrupt Megacorp at the center of it all. One part Sekiro and one part Katana Zero, of course I'm down for this. I've long had my eye on the roguelite platformer Astro Ascent since it's a vibrant looking title that is gorgeous, and have just been waiting for the right time to show it off, and when better than its Kickstarter campaign, although it has already been fully funded. It has you battling the 12 zodiac signs as you seek to escape the garden, with 4 playable characters and a combat system where you're able to customize and build your own spells. Most interestingly, this comes to us from developer Hibernian Workshop, makers of the 2D Souls-like title Dark Devotion, so I'm interested to see what lessons they learned from that, but very interesting change in art direction for them. In terms of influences, this certainly looks like Wizard of Legend but as a 2D platformer, although I also see Dead Cells and Spellbreak in this. Absolutely adore the look, taking the #1 spot. For more pixel art titles, check out this video and I will see you after the jump.